Talofa lava, tēnā koe, and a good evening from New Zealand. Thank you very much for coming on to this presentation. If you are looking at this presentation, you are looking at the Line Academy B2B global platforms in our 4 lanes. We support warriors, women, youth, and business with our entrepreneur tribes. And today we're going to talk about how your organization can plug into those platforms. Obviously today it's all about warriors, the tribe that we come from. This is the tribe that society relies upon to protect them, to protect our countries and our communities, and to be there for us in an emergency if we need help. The issues that we're having at the moment in the war on suicide is our veteran, our law enforcement, our emergency services suicides are unacceptable. So we developed a program that took our warrior tribe through 3 phases: trauma, transition, and evolution. Primarily PTSD on the trauma side, into transitioning out of uniform and then evolving into becoming someone different with a different identity, which is very difficult when it has been programmed subconsciously into you from a very young age, or you've had very serious situations that you've shared with your team that carves those neuro pathways deeper than normal interactions normally do. And that's our warrior tribe's main issue, is getting out of the trauma, transitioning out of that identity of being in uniform, and evolving and choosing who they want to be. Everything that I'm talking about now comes from the Good News About PTSD, which I wrote. It is clinically endorsed in 5 countries and it aligns to the DSM-5. It was written by the military family for the military family and has been adapted for military, law enforcement, and emergency services. It is lived experience all the way through, but again, it's clinically endorsed and aligns to the DSM-5 for the credibility and the liability. It's also aligned with most of the strategic documentation that you will see. You may have written some of these yourself or are required to adhere to them. You can find a link to this platform, my book, and my programs that align to every recommendation in every one of these strategic documents, because all the recommendations are the same. However, there hasn't been a solution yet that provides all of them in one place, which is why we developed the B2B global platforms. What's my credibility to talk about this? I come from a military family. That's my father on the left. He was a Sergeant Major. He was a military policeman. And as you can see there, he's Samoan from the Pacific Islands. There's me in the middle, qualifying operational service in Bosnia with the New Zealand Army. Then I joined the New Zealand Police, and then I went out on close protection out there on the circuit. There's my son wearing my grandfather's medals from World War II, a New Zealand Expeditionary Force as a driver. And there's my sister who worked for the police for over 20 years, and those are her medals from her operational deployment to the Solomon Islands. For those of us that have worn uniforms, our stories are all the same. As young men or young women, we go through recruit training, corps training, unit training, police college, police academy, and then your teammates become your family. Their family becomes your family. The extended families that we're all a part of become closer in most situations than our blood family. Sadly, those close connections, when they're severed, when we lose them, are very tough to deal with. So my brother Daryl Diptatheri was killed 17 years ago, doing what he loved, protecting other people. But sadly, we lost our sister, his wife, Desiree, 5 years later. Now, if you've dealt with death in the warrior tribe before, one of the hardest things to handle is the kids that are left behind. The ripple effect of trauma, the normal price to pay when you sacrifice your life for your loved ones. And so this is part of who we are in the warrior tribe. We understand this when we lose people, and we have to then step in as an extended family and look after their kids. So there's the daughter Lyric and her daughter, which makes it her mum and dad's granddaughter, that we all look out for as well. This is part of the warrior tribe. This is part of the price to pay. So I developed an organisation called Success for Soldiers, helping people through what we went through as soldiers, and that military mindset, that systems approach to training, that strategic military planning is how I applied this, starting with the end state in mind. What is the vision? What is the commander's intent? Designing a strategy, putting missions in place, plans and tasks. But now coming out here as the founder and CEO of the Line Academy, we pull all that into a simple map to follow. So I went and did what a lot of people do when they have solutions. I went out there and I started teaching this, trauma, transition, evolution, utilizing the Good News About PTSD, the VIP of mental health, making peace with the mirror, and crisis leadership. So our crisis leadership modality trended at #1 on LinkedIn during COVID. So we established ourselves on the world stage. We were giving away $10 million pilots to organizations to go through these courses. Unfortunately, when you're out there and you're delivering workshops, you're still seen as an ex-soldier or an ex-police officer. Even if you're going overseas and doing very well for yourself, you're still seen as an individual. So there was a gap there in being able to provide the sheer scale that is required to get in front of this war on suicide. As we started helping our warriors, our women came with their own specific situations they were dealing with, also in uniform: rapes, sexual assaults, domestic violence. And if you haven't dealt with the women in our warrior tribe, they're still warriors. Here in New Zealand, we call them wahine tō, which means women warriors. Our women are no joke. They command, they hold their own, and in many ways excel in different environments. So we don't pander to an inequality when we're in uniform. We're a team, and that's how we work. So when our women came and we combined all of these solutions together, then we had the complete wraparound package for males and females and the kids and the family. However, we had to put a group of companies together now. As I said before, being an individual and designing these strategies, you're still seen as an ex this or an ex that. So once we became founders and CEOs, we put our own companies together: Success for Soldiers, Protecting Women Global, the Lion Academy, my father's organisation, Tamar Enterprises International, and Security, Risk and Intelligence, which we've done a lot of overseas. My father was a country manager. I was a regional operations manager for Asia Pacific. And then one of the modalities that's required, we have our own fuel brand so that we can utilise that income to support our tribes. I went and became an influencer. I became an inspirational speaker, corporate trainer, and I hit the influencing space as the first Gold Cast speaker of this decade. So I had to learn how influence was conducted in society at the moment. Everything's online. Everything's about social validation and social proof. So I had to go and learn that, but I've brought it all back because this is still the focus. I'm still dealing with suicidal military, law enforcement, and emergency services and their families. So now I get to bring all that influence back here into this B2B global platform that you can plug straight into. Now, in the military, we sign that blank check payable for our entire life, and we lose people in battle, and that's fine. That's what we sign up for. We volunteered for it. We're not conscripted, and we can deal with that even though it's tough. Out there on the front line as police officers, you can lose your life out there on the front line. But if you lose your life doing your job, it's part of the job, and we can also get through that as well, even though that's tough. What I can't handle and what I won't stand by for is watching this repeat cycle of those of us in uniform, once we're out of uniform, being discarded, and having those that haven't worn the uniform trying to design solutions for those of us that have. What breaks my heart and what really annoys me is these warriors, those of us that are warriors to this level, get to a point where suicide is an option. And I'll be brutally honest here. If you've read my book, I've been at that stage myself, and it's math. And the simple math is there's an advantage to being dead more so than being alive. That's it. That's where you get to, however you get there. There's lots of different ways to get there. And so what I've found with the people that I've brought back from suicide, walking the same path, is understanding a couple of key concepts. And one of the key concepts here when we look at the suicide stats is everyone's focusing on the wrong things. Most people focus on that blue line at the top, which is non-veteran adults, and the amount of suicides. So we go right up to the top, there are 40,020 non-veteran suicides. And then people look at the graph down below and they go, well, you know, veteran suicides are a lot less. But 6,392 suicides for veteran is unacceptable. But the other thing people forget is you have to combine both of those figures, and you're going to get 46,000 that law enforcement then has to go and deal with. Because every suicide in our countries, law enforcement has to go and deal with that. And when we look at the law enforcement deaths by suicide, males, white, between 30 and 59 is the main demographic in a relationship with kids, and they're not a veteran. Right? Those are huge stats. But what's really interesting is this stat here. We're blending across all these industries. Most people, when they leave the military, they'll go across into law enforcement, into corrections, into emergency services. We are cross-pollinating all of our warrior tribe and all of our industries. Now, almost a quarter of law enforcement deaths by suicide are veterans. So this is all starting to amplify now, and I see that as a huge advantage, because if you plug into this B2B global platform, they come in here with their own language, and we can all protect each other and get through this program. How do we go from this identity? We've got to take them back to this identity. All warriors need three things. They need a mission, they need a team, and they need an enemy. And we have all three. The enemy is suicide, the mission is to reduce suicide, and the team is everyone that they wanted to be with. And so we still get to do that. But how do we do that? Strategy first. Tactics win battles, strategy wins wars. I developed a mental health strategy back in 2021, and everyone is still locked over here on the left-hand side of this diagram. Everyone's still over here, crisis response, trying to get people to safety, coping mechanisms up the wazoo, and endless awareness campaigns, and we go round and round in circles. But no one's designed a solutions menu, making a decision to come into one place to get all of these solutions. The plugin model for the B2B global platform consists of three components. The first component is an accurate assessment on what those mental health challenges are. Now, there's generally a misdiagnosis rate because most assessment tools are looking for PTSD, depression, and anxiety. Now, most people get this misdiagnosed with this because if you've worn the uniform and you show any sort of aggression, it will tick the PTSD box. If you have worn the uniform and you've dealt with a death, even though it might be the normal grief cycle, it'll go straight down into depression or PTSD again. So what we did, we partnered with another organization that does an assessment of 33 possible causes of mental health challenges. It is the equivalent of having 6 visits with your doctor and getting that amount of information. What that means is if you go down the clinical route to speak to your doctor, the doctor has enough information before you even speak to them in the equivalent of 6 visits. Most doctors, most medical visits around the world at the moment are between 15 and 30 minutes to diagnose, medicate, or refer. That is not effective, and we know it's not effective. So we have an assessment tool that looks for 33 possible mental health challenges. And the other one that's missing, and in all these strategic documents that I've read, there needs to be more of an investment in preventative measures. Well, we already know that. So we've partnered with Mike Hanley from Red 6 and developed our Line Academy Battle Buddy app. It's a real-time app support plugged into your support system, but you're checking with that app every single day. So it's one of the most accurate predictors of any issues before they arise, because you're tracking the data each day as it comes through. So it's fully preventative, real-time support and monitoring. Those two pieces of information plug into the B2B global platform, where we then take your staff through trauma, transition, and evolution. Because remember what we said here, the majority of the suicides, if we give law enforcement as an example, they're in a relationship when they've got kids. This affects the entire family, the ripple effect of PTSD, the intergenerational trauma. No one modality steps outside the job. So these other organisations come in. Here in New Zealand, if a spouse is in uniform and they're killed, we have an organisation called Families of the Fallen. And so most organisations, law enforcement, military and emergency services, have plug-in organisations for all of the family, but they don't get access to the camp anymore. They don't get access to the housing area, the base, the ship, the unit, the station anymore, because the uniform partner is now dead. Where with the B2B global platform, the family gets access to the entire platform as well at no extra charge at all. And so that B2B global platform that's plugged right in the middle of all of this, the family gets access to. So how does that plug into your organization? The top part of this chart here, our assessment, our app, and our B2B global platform plugs directly into yours. Those medical and confidence assessments straight to your medical team. Your support systems can also be loaded into our app. If you already have a very effective support mechanism in your organization, plug it straight into the app. Then we double up the support. Now your leadership will plug straight into my leadership. Your operational processes will plug straight into my operations manager. So this plugs straight in. This isn't an either or conversation. This is a and conversation. If you plug this B2B global platform in for warriors from the Lion Academy, we will plug straight into your organization. We can liaise and communicate with the medical model, with the indigenous model, with any model that you have, it plugs straight in. And on that medical and confidence, that first assessment is depersonalized. You will not see individual information. You as the leader or commander will see an assessment for all of your staff for 33 possible mental health challenges. You will get a depersonalized assessment to say, hey, 33% of your staff are dealing with traumatic situations, but 60% of your staff are dealing with this particular issue. It could be corporate bullying, it could be fatigue, it could be all these other things. So you as a leader or commander can see straight away what modality you need to concentrate on the B2B global platform. So we don't misdiagnose anyone, we don't get people to do training that they don't need to do, and you have full control of that as the leader and the commander, because it's all here in one place. First thing we have to knock over is trauma. So with the good news about PTSD, it is the world's first good news book about PTSD. It has been utilised in supporting Vietnam veterans in Waitangi tribunal hearings, which are legal hearings back here in New Zealand, proving the different components of post-traumatic stress. And the 3 phases that we utilise within that book is redefining PTSD, it is understanding it in your own language, and then reverting back to your true form. So on the left-hand side here, all in red, you can see the subconscious bodyguards from the book that are manifesting in a negative way at the moment. And so we redefine that. And then when you understand that this is just you on how you've been trained, for example, if someone sneaks up behind you and scares you or grabs you from behind and you spin around and you hit that person, that is a subconscious response exactly the same as contact rear. That's not someone making a conscious decision to turn around and assault someone. That is you running program training that you learn in uniform. And so we have to bring that back around and revert back to having control, because the only issue that we're having here is a lack of control between conscious action and subconscious action. So that's the first phase, is just redefining all of this as per the book. Again, clinically endorsed, supported by the DSM-5. Phase 2 and phase 3 is dealing with understanding those components at a deeper level, understanding that it's natural, giving people the opportunity to utilize their own language. We had a lot of fun with the language here. It's iconized, it's simple to understand, and again, the families could point to any of their family members and say, yep, Dad was a werewolf. I was walking around on eggshells. Or you know what? Mum can't sit in a restaurant without her back to a wall and she can see both the exits. This person here is constantly having nightmares. This person here doesn't have any feeling at all. And then we teach them how to revert back to where they're supposed to be. When we go into the transition model, I built this model for my father. So my father, 20 plus years in the military, as a SAR major, very well respected. He leaves that organisation. He's nobody. He's an old guy now. And so we developed the VIP of mental health, value, identity and purpose. You will get all of your value from either your identity or your purpose. And if you lose one of those identities, you lose all that value. If you lose one of those purposes, you lose all that value. So what's happening to our warrior tribe? They get all their value for the identity of being a warrior. Then they leave, or they're medically discharged. They're no longer a warrior in their own eyes. They have no value now. They have no purpose. They're not out there on a team, on a mission against an enemy. So who are they now? And so we get to reprogram, redesign all of this. And this works for any shift of identity. I've just tailored this one to the warrior tribe. Then we get to evolution, where you design, create, and become who you want to be. And bottom line, when you walk this journey, at some point, you're going to leave the uniform and you're going to have to pay the bills. And we need to utilize all that experience so you can learn how to monetize all your experience when you get out. Otherwise, you are going to end up as a security guard, or you're going to end up working somewhere that has absolutely no value and you are going to implode. And so anyone in uniform can strategy map. Anyone in uniform can create an online course. Anyone in uniform can do corporate training if you come through the VIP of mental health model. If you don't, then you'll still present as a warrior when you're in a corporate environment, and it won't work. But if you understand how to alter your identity and your value and your purpose, you could alter that role so it's not an identity when you come across here. And I've done this myself from an individual like you've seen all the way up now to creating B2B global platforms. So anyone can do this if they follow the map. Now, outside of the DSM-5, there are other evolution modalities that you will have access to through the Line Academy, but it's not part of the platform. So these are supported by the DSM-5, but we can't utilize them for your organization officially because it sits outside of the DSM-5, but your people can select them to step outside of and step into, because many of us did, and a lot of your people are doing this anyway. So we just want to acknowledge these and say that there are options for them, but they're options. So the first evolution modality as an option is that energetic evolution, understanding the effects of trauma on your biology, your physiology, and your energy. And so a lot of us went through Asia, learned how to meditate, breathing, controlling our energy, learned that whole redefining from an energetic point of view. Now, it's not woo-woo anymore because it's even mentioned in the DSM-5. So the effects of trauma on biology and physiology in the DSM-5. The DSM-5 discusses the biological and physiological effects of trauma, especially in PTSD, highlighting alterations in arousal and reactivity, such as irritability, hypervigilance, and sleep disturbances. However, the DSM-5 does not cover the impact of trauma on the body's electromagnetic and energy fields. For these aspects, other resources may be needed. So because it's the fifth version of the DSM-5, it's catching up to how human beings are healing themselves. So again, it's not part of the platform, but we have access to other modalities as an option that we can send you to as well. The cultural evolution is about embracing and acknowledging Indigenous culture. Now, down here in New Zealand, down here in the South Pacific, the warrior culture of the New Zealand Army is Te Ao Māori. Māori warriors. Māori are the Indigenous people of New Zealand. Aboriginals are the Indigenous people of Australia. Down here in New Zealand, South Pacific, this is our strongest modality when it comes to healing ourselves, and it's the closest link for our warrior tribe. Now, wherever in the world you're watching this from, we have to acknowledge every culture that's in uniform. However, the colour of the uniform comes before any Indigenous colour. The whole reason it works in the military is because we're green before any other colour. The whole reason it works in law enforcement is because we are blue before we're any other colour. Now, as a strategic leader and a founder and CEO in my own right, I hold that organisational status as the chief, as the boss, as the leader, as the commander, and that is our culture. But it's also mentioned in the DSM-5. Culture is extensively discussed in the DSM-5, particularly regarding its impact on the diagnosis and expression of mental disorders. The DSM-5 highlights the importance of considering cultural, social, and familial norms and values in the diagnostic process. If you don't take into account your people's culture and that relationship in their family, it'll be to your detriment, not only for effectiveness in the role as a leader and a commander, but especially if they're struggling with mental health challenges. And then the final one is spiritual evolution. So many of us have a faith that has sustained us through this. Some people don't. So religion, faith, and spirituality, they're all different, but whatever your people resonate with, we still have to acknowledge that. And it's even acknowledged in the DSM-5. The DSM-5 acknowledges the role of religion in the cultural context of mental health. It recognizes that religious affiliation can influence an individual's cultural identity, coping mechanisms, and the way they experience and express mental distress. Critically important, if you have a faith, I have a faith in Jesus, but I hate religion and I stay away from spirituality. So that's what I hold to. Other people hold to other religions, other faiths, other spirituality, nature. It doesn't matter. But what is the most important for that person? So we have those modalities as well. If we come back to the overarching strategy behind all of this, we have the platform with the assessment and the real-time app that can plug directly into your organization. Straight into your medical team, straight into your leadership team, straight into your support team. It is a perfect fit. And it is designed by the warrior tribe for the warrior tribe. However, with global expertise and global experience over 17 years. So here are your organizational options. Firstly, you can do a free trial. You can choose one of those modalities, trauma, transitional evolution, what you feel as the leader and commander your people need. We'll conduct that modality assessment to see which one of those that you want to do. You'll complete that particular program online. You will get access to the Line Academy Battle Buddy app for the duration of this free trial so that you can see how that would work. But there's no baseline mental health challenge assessment because there's a cost involved in those assessments, and we don't want confidential medical and confidence information coming through on a free trial. If this makes sense to you and you want to get involved now, first thing that would happen is we would have a conversation, we would sign an agreement with all the costs outlined, we would conduct a baseline mental health challenges assessment for all of your staff, looking for those 33 mental health challenges. All the staff will get loaded in the Line Academy Battle Buddy app, and all staff will get loaded into the B2B global platform, and they would start walking themselves through, under your leadership and guidance and our support, those 3 phases of programs: trauma, transition, evolution. They will complete all of those, and there will be monthly reporting back to your organization so we can track what's going on. Now, it's critically important to understand that that app is there for a reason. In between all of this, Murphy's Law will turn this to custard. There will be a national disaster, there will be an emergency, there will be a spate of homicides, there will be a gas leak. Something will happen while we're conducting this, because our work doesn't stop. We still have people deployed. There's still people out there on the front line 24/7 responding to incidents. So it's critically important that we have access to that app while we're running this program, even the free trial. We could be 3 days into this, everything's fine, then all of a sudden we have a train accident somewhere or a car accident somewhere, and one of our members is involved in that off duty, and it spins everybody out. But the app will catch that. And if you have an EAP, an employee assistance program, we can plug straight into that as well with the app. At any stage, you have the option to fly me over to conduct face-to-face workshops, subconscious bodyguard, VIP of mental health, make peace with the mirror, evolution design, and I can also do that for family members. My global headquarters down here in New Zealand sits on the 7th floor of a hotel building. So you also have the option on the US dollar to fly your team here in groups of 10, starting with your leadership team. And you can conduct this course here with me in New Zealand face-to-face. Once we get to that point where everyone's been through the platform, then you have the train the trainers option, where I will train your trainers how to run all of this. And there'll be a bi-yearly recertification so that your people can train your people in this modality. But the ultimate for me is about impact and legacy. I want to white label this platform to you. I want you to own this platform. I want your people to be able to run this platform. I want your people to update the content, use their own language, and I want to walk away. I want to come into your organization as a fire support, as a force multiplier, to get in here and have a bloody good attack on that enemy of suicide and get you back on the front foot, teach you this, train your trainers, and then sell it to you and walk away. This is not about the Line Academy plugging into your organization for endless revenue stream. This is about impact and legacy. This is about saving the lives of our people that have served our countries and our communities and handing it back over. In order to do that, we had to put a group of companies together. We have a group of companies that can put this across anywhere in the world, because our warriors need to understand that they still have that fighting spirit, that there's still a way through and out of this. There's still other warriors that will come. If you pop smoke, someone will come, and you can get through this. We have a victory mindset. I have walked all 3 of these lanes personally. I have helped people walk through these lanes all over the world in lots of different countries. Now is the time in 2024 to give your people another option. We are professional warriors. We are professional soldiers, professional police officers, professional firefighters, professional ambulance staff. We're professionals. We trust people with our life. Trust your people to assess this. If you have listened this far already as a leader and commander, the strategy is sound. The logic is sound. The credibility and liability is covered. Give your people the opportunity to assess this for themselves. And I am on standby. There are still lions in this world, and this does not scare us. Send me an email, dion@dionjensen.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. Let's talk.